Welcome. You're listening to Sleepy Historian. This is a place for long, quiet history. History told slowly. History told without urgency. You don't need to stay awake for every word. You don't need to remember names or dates. You can let your attention loosen. If you drift, the story will continue without you. If you return, time will have passed gently. Tonight, you are settling into a day along the Nile. Long before electricity, before engines, before clocks measured anything smaller than the sun's movement. You are here without modern comforts. No running water waits behind a wall. No glass separates you from the heat. No switch controls the darkness. Life here is not dramatic. It is steady. It is repetitive. And it requires effort from the moment you wake. You live close to the river, but never in control of it. The Nile provides food, water, and soil. It also decides when work is possible and when it is not. As you lie listening, imagine the quiet before dawn. The sky is pale, but not yet bright. The air holds the night's coolness for a short while longer. Soon it will leave. You wake not because you want to, but because the day requires it. There is no alarm. There is only habit, and the knowledge that tasks delayed become harder later. Your body feels the ground beneath you. Packed earth, worn smooth by years of use. It holds the night's chill. You sit up slowly. Movement costs energy even now. Outside, the river moves as it always has. Quiet, wide, unconcerned with your schedule. This is how survival begins here. Not with danger rushing toward you, but with the slow certainty that effort cannot be avoided. The Nile does not threaten. It simply waits. Every day follows a pattern shaped by the sun. Morning offers a small advantage. The air is kinder. The light is soft. Later, the heat will press down steadily. It will not strike suddenly. It will arrive without urgency and remain. You know this. Everyone here knows this. As you prepare to stand, you think of water. Not because you are thirsty yet, but because water must be gathered early. It is heavy. It always has been. Clay vessels wait nearby. Their surfaces are smooth from use. Each one holds enough to matter, and enough to strain your arms before the day is over. You step outside. The village is quiet, but not asleep. Others move slowly as you do. No one speaks much. Words are saved for later, when shade exists. The river lies ahead, wide and calm in appearance. Its surface reflects pale light. You approach carefully. The bank changes with the seasons. Mud shifts. Edges soften. The Nile feeds the land, but does not make things easy. You lower your vessel into the water. You wait for it to fill. You lift it with care. Already, your shoulders register the weight. This is not hardship. This is routine. And yet, routine shapes endurance. Around you, insects move in the air. They are never absent, only more or less noticeable. The day has not fully begun, and already energy has been spent. As you turn back toward the village, you understand the rhythm of life here. Every task draws from the same limited reserve. There is no way to add more. There is only pacing. Food will come later. First, work. Homes along the river are simple. Mud brick, reed roofs, materials gathered by hand. They must be maintained constantly. Cracks form, walls soften. Nothing lasts without attention. You pass others preparing for the same work. Some will tend fields. Some will shape bricks. Some will grind grain until their hands ache. No one asks if you're tired. Tiredness is assumed. The sun rises higher. Its warmth spreads across the land. Slowly, unavoidably, the river glints now, bright enough to force your eyes downward. In the fields, crops wait. They do not grow quickly. They require patience. And water, the Nile gives when it chooses. Floods arrive not by request. And when they come, they reshape everything. For now, the land is workable, and that is enough. You set the water down where it will be needed. Later, someone will return for more. There is no sense of completion, only progress. Time here is measured in tasks, not hours, not minutes. You move toward the next responsibility. Perhaps grain must be prepared. Perhaps tools need repair. Hands meet stone. Stone meets grain. The sound is steady, repetitive. It fills the space without demanding attention. As you work, your thoughts slow. There's little room for wandering. Awareness stays close to the body. Heat builds gradually. You notice it only after it has settled in. Sweat forms, evaporates, forms again. Shade becomes something you plan for, something you earn. The river remains nearby, always visible, always moving. It does not rush. It does not stop. And in this constancy, there is both comfort and pressure. If the river changes, life changes with it. If the flood is weak, hunger follows. If it is strong, homes must be rebuilt. Nothing is wasted here. Not energy, not food, not time. You become aware of how quiet everything is. No engines, no distant hum, only wind through reeds, water against the bank, footsteps on packed earth. This quiet does not relax the body. It sharpens awareness. Every sound matters because there are so few. As the morning advances, the work continues. There is no moment when survival becomes secure. There is only the present task, and the next one waiting. If you feel your attention drifting now, that is expected. This history does not ask to be followed closely. It asks only to be present. The day along the Nile unfolds slowly, as it always has. And as you listen, time will move with the same steady patience. The morning continues without ceremony. There is no moment that marks its beginning, only a slow brightening and the quiet agreement that work must proceed. You're already moving again. Water, once carried, is never enough for long. The vessels you filled earlier will be emptied by cooking, cleaning, mixing clay, washing hands thick with dust. Water disappears steadily, as though the river were farther away than it truly is. You lift another container. Its rim is cool against your fingers. The clay has been fired many times. Small imperfections remain. Nothing here is flawless. Nothing needs to be. You walk back toward the river, feet pressing into earth that still remembers the night's chill. Each step is deliberate. Stumbles cost energy. Energy must be guarded. Others move beside you. Not close, not distant. Everyone keeps enough space to work without interference. Voices are low, often absent. The Nile is unchanged from earlier. Wide, steady, patient. It accepts the vessel without reaction. You wait for it to fill again. You feel the pull in your arms as you lift. The weight settles into your shoulders immediately. There is no adjustment period. Your body understands the cost at once. You turn away from the water carefully. A misstep here means more work. Spilled water is not just lost water. It is lost time. By the time you return, the sun has climbed higher. Its warmth is no longer gentle. It presses without apology. The shade near the huts is thin. It exists more in intention than in reality. Work continues anyway. Mud bricks must be repaired. Walls crack quietly over time. Rain weakens them. Heat dries them unevenly. Nothing stands untouched for long. You kneel near a wall where the surface has softened. The mud is cool beneath your hands at first. That will change. You press, smooth, reinforce. The work is slow. It must be. Rushed repairs fail quickly. Nearby, others do the same. Some work alone, some in pairs. There is no discussion about method. Everyone already knows. The smell of damp earth rises as the sun warms it. It is not unpleasant. It is familiar. Insects gather. They always do. You brush them away when they distract you. Not out of irritation, out of habit. Your back begins to tighten. Not sharply, just enough to remind you that time passes even when tasks remain unfinished. There is grain to prepare. You move toward the grinding stones. They are heavy and immovable. They have been used longer than memory reaches. You kneel again. You pour grain onto the stone. You begin the slow, circular motion. Stone against stone. Grain between. The sound is steady, low, endlessly repeatable. Your arms move without thought. Your breathing settles into rhythm. This is not boredom. It is focus narrowed by necessity. The heat gathers. It does not announce itself. It simply accumulates. Sweat forms along your neck. Runs slowly. Evaporates before it cools you. You pause briefly. Not long enough to rest. Just long enough to stretch your fingers. Around you, the same motions continue. Hands grinding. Water being carried. Clay being shaped. The Nile glints in the distance. Always present. Always out of reach when you're busy elsewhere. Children move nearby, tasked with small responsibilities. They carry light loads. They watch. They learn without instruction. No one explains survival here. It is observed daily. A breeze passes briefly. It is thin. It barely stirs the air. But it is noticed. Moments like that are remembered. As the morning advances, hunger begins to make itself known. Not sharply, just enough to change the way you measure effort. Meals are simple. They must be. Grain ground earlier becomes flatbread. Cooked quickly. Eaten slowly. You sit when you eat. Standing wastes strength. The ground beneath you is warm now. The night's coolness has fully left it. You chew carefully. Not from caution. From habit. Around you, others eat in the same quiet manner. No one rushes. Food is not abundant enough to encourage haste. When the meal ends, work resumes almost immediately. There is no signal, only shared understanding. The sun continues its climb. Shadows shorten. The land brightens. You are aware now of your body in a different way. Not tired, not rested, somewhere in between. This is the condition you will maintain for most of the day. Never fully depleted, never fully comfortable. The Nile flows on, unchanged by your effort. It does not reward. It does not punish. It simply remains. And you continue, knowing that the morning's labor is only the beginning. As the morning advances, the work shifts without announcement. Tasks do not end. They change shape. Shelter must be maintained before the heat becomes difficult to endure. Walls soften when neglected. Roofs loosen. Small failures spread quietly if they are ignored. You move back toward the dwellings. The ground is no longer cool beneath your feet. It has begun to store the sun's warmth. Mud waits where it was prepared earlier. Water mixed carefully. Earth pressed until it holds together. Nothing wasted. You kneel again. The posture is familiar. Your knees already understand the ground. Mud is lifted by hand, pressed into place, smoothed with slow, practiced movements. At first it feels cool. Soon it is not. The wall absorbs the sun. The surface warms steadily beneath your palms. There is no shade here, only partial relief where roofs cast thin lines of darkness. You work within those lines when you can. When you cannot, you continue anyway. Above you, the sky is clear. Clouds are rare. They are remembered when they appear. The sun does not burn. It presses. Its weight is constant. It does not require your attention to make itself known. Sweat forms again. This time it lingers. Your breathing adjusts. Slower, more deliberate. This is how effort is managed here. Not through speed, through restraint. Others work nearby. Some lift reeds for roofing. Some adjust wooden supports worn smooth by time. The sounds are muted. Hands against earth. Reeds brushing together. Footsteps on packed ground. Insects gather in the warmth. They hover. They settle. They are brushed away without thought. You pause to stretch your back. Only briefly. Long pauses steal momentum. The wall looks unchanged to anyone passing by. But you know it is stronger now. Less likely to crumble when heat and moisture compete. This is how progress appears here. Quiet. Almost invisible. The sun climbs higher. The angle shifts. Shade moves slowly across the ground. You move with it when possible. When not, you accept the exposure. Water is rationed carefully. Small sips. Never rushed. The memory of the river is enough to remind you why restraint matters. Fetching water again costs time and energy. Your shoulders feel the morning's earlier labor now. Not pain, awareness. You lift a bundle of reeds. They are lighter than water, but awkward. Their ends catch the wind. You carry them carefully. A drop bundle means more bending. More bending means more strain. Someone steadies the roof while you work. No words are exchanged. The coordination is practiced. Reeds are laid, pressed, tied with fiber twisted by hand. The roof thickens slowly, layer by layer. This is what stands between you and the sun later in the day, between you and the cold at night. Shelter here is not comfort. It is mitigation. The heat increases without pause. Your skin registers it fully now. The air feels heavier, less willing to move. You notice fewer breezes. The land seems to hold its breath. Work continues. A child passes carrying a small vessel of water. Careful, focused, nothing spills. You recognize the effort in their posture. You remember it in your own body. As the sun reaches its higher position, shadows shrink further. They become narrow, harder to use. The mud on your hands begins to dry quickly, cracking, pulling at your skin. You wipe your hands on cloth. The cloth is already stiff with use. Hunger returns softly, not demanding, persistent. There is still work to finish before rest becomes reasonable. Rest is something earned here, and even then, it is brief. You complete the section of wall. You smooth the final surface. You step back. It looks the same as it did before. Only now, it will endure longer. You move toward the interior space. Inside, the air is dimmer, cooler by a small margin. That margin matters. You sit for a moment, just long enough to let your breathing slow. The sounds outside continue. Work does not pause because you do. The river remains nearby, unseen from here, but always present in thought. Without it, nothing around you holds. As you rise again, the sun is fully established in the sky. Morning is no longer early. The easier hours have passed, and the day is far from finished. By the time the sun reaches its height, the nature of work changes again. Movements slow, decisions become smaller. This is not the time for heavy lifting. It is the time for tasks that can be done close to the ground, close to shade where it exists. Grinding grain returns you to the stone. It always does. The stone does not move. It waits where it has always waited, smooth in the places where hands have passed over it for generations. You kneel. The posture is familiar now. Your legs fold without resistance. Grain is poured out carefully, each handful measured by experience rather than weight. Too much spills. Too little wastes effort. The grinding stone fits your hands easily. It has been shaped by use, not design. You begin. The motion is slow and circular. Forward, back, again. Stone meets stone. The sound is low, almost soothing in its consistency. Dust rises faintly. It settles on your skin, on your clothes, on the ground beneath you. You breathe through it without comment. This work demands patience more than strength. Force does not help here. Steady pressure does. Your arms move in rhythm. Your thoughts narrow. There is little space for distraction. Nearby, others do the same. Different stones. Same motion. Occasionally, someone pauses to stretch fingers, stiffening from repetition. The pause is brief. Habit returns the hands to work. The heat presses downward, not aggressively, persistently. Shade lines the ground unevenly. You adjust your position by small degrees. An inch closer to the wall. A shift of a stone. These adjustments matter. As a grain becomes flour, it is gathered carefully. Nothing spills if it can be helped. This will become bread. Simple, dense, reliable. Cooking begins nearby. Small fires are fed with limited fuel. Nothing burns quickly. Nothing burns carelessly. You watch the flame without staring at it. Eyes lowered to avoid unnecessary strain. The dough is mixed with practiced motions. Water added sparingly. Too much weakens it. Too little makes it hard to work. Hands knead slowly. Press. Fold. Press again. This is one of the few moments where warmth is welcome. The heat helps the dough hold together. Flatbread is shaped by hand, placed on hot surfaces. Turned once, then removed. The smell is mild, comforting only because it means energy will be restored. You sit when you eat, always. Standing while eating wastes strength. Everyone knows this. The bread is torn into pieces, chewed slowly, swallowed deliberately. There is no hurry. There is no excess. Water is sipped, not drained. You feel the meal settle, not as fullness, as steadiness. This is enough. After eating, movement resumes gently. Not immediately, but soon enough that stiffness does not take hold. Some return to light repairs. Some to sorting grain. Some to watching children who tire more quickly in the heat. Energy is managed carefully now. Not hoarded. Allocated. Every action is weighed, even if unconsciously. Is this necessary now? Can it wait? The sun remains fixed above. Time seems to slow beneath it. Shadows barely move. The air feels thicker, less willing to carry sound. Conversation, when it happens, is brief. Words require effort. Silence does not. You wipe your hands on cloth already marked by the day's work. The fabric is rough, worn thin, Your body feels warm throughout, not uncomfortable, just aware. You notice how often your attention returns to the river, not visually, mentally. The thought of water cools the mind more than the body. This part of the day is about endurance, not productivity. Tasks are chosen carefully to avoid exhaustion. Exhaustion creates mistakes. Mistakes cost more energy than they save. You adjust your pace, slowly, without stopping. In this way, the day stretches on. There is no signal when this phase ends, only the gradual understanding that the sun will begin its descent eventually. Until then, you continue with what can be done. Nothing more, nothing less. The Nile flows on, indifferent to your calculations. And yet, everything you do bends toward it. The middle of the day arrives without announcement. There is no bell, no change in routine that clearly marks it. Only the heat tells you. The sun stands high now, nearly overhead. Shadows retreat until they barely exist. What little shade remains clings tightly to walls and doorways. You feel the difference immediately, not as pain, as weight. The air presses against your skin. Movement feels thicker, as if each step must push through resistance. This is the hour when time stretches, not because there is more to do, but because everything takes longer. You become more aware of your breathing. Each inhale measured, each exhale released slowly. Rushing serves no purpose now. It only drains what you cannot replace. Water becomes a constant thought, not urgent, persistent. You know how much remains. You remember how far the river is. You calculate quietly, without numbers. A sip now, another later. Your mouth feels dry sooner than it did in the morning. Your tongue rests differently. Your throat reminds you of its limits. You do not drink immediately. You wait. You always wait a little longer than comfort suggests. Around you, others do the same. There is no discussion about it. No one needs reminding. This is the part of the day when work is chosen carefully. Heavy lifting pauses. Repetitive motions slow. Some sit near walls where the shade is slightly deeper. Others remain standing, leaning their weight where they can. You find a place near the edge of a structure. The shadow is narrow, enough for part of your body. Not all. You adjust your position as the sun moves. Small shifts, barely noticeable. The ground beneath you radiates warmth now. It has absorbed hours of sunlight. It gives it back steadily. Insects are more active in the heat. They move lazily, unconcerned. You brush them away when they linger too long. Sound carries less in this heat. Voices seem to stop a short distance away. Even the river feels quieter. You listen anyway. The faint movement of water is reassuring. It reminds you that something is still flowing. Tasks continue, but gently. Sorting grain, repairing small tools, watching over children resting nearby. No one sleeps deeply at this hour. The heat prevents it. Rest is shallow and alert. Your body feels warm through and through. There's no cool place left inside you. Only tolerance. This is where endurance shows itself. Not in effort, in restraint. You notice how often your attention drifts. Not away from the present, but inward. Thoughts repeat. Simple ones. How much water remains? When the sun might shift? What still needs to be done? The day feels long here. Not overwhelming. Just expansive. Time does not hurry, and neither can you. You take a sip of water. Small. Enough to ease the dryness. You feel it move through you. Brief relief. Then warmth returns. The river seems farther away now, even though it has not moved. Distance feels different in heat. Some choose to walk toward it anyway. Slowly, carefully. Each trip must matter. You remain where you are. For now, shade is traded like a resource. Someone steps away. You step in. No words mark the exchange. The sun remains unmoved by all of this. It does not respond to planning or patience. It simply holds its position. This part of the day is not productive by modern measures. Very little changes outwardly. But survival depends on these hours being endured without error, without excess. Mistakes made now cost more later. You wipe sweat from your face with cloth already damp. It does little, but the motion itself helps. Your breathing slows further. Your movements become economical. Everything unnecessary fades. The world narrows to heat, shade, and time. Eventually, though not yet, the sun will begin to descend. Shadows will lengthen again. The air will loosen its grip. Until then, you wait within the day. Alert, patient. The Nile continues to flow beside all of this, untroubled by the heat, unchanged by your careful calculations. And you continue as well, not pushing forward, simply remaining. As the heat holds its position, other pressures become more noticeable. Not sudden, not dramatic, simply present. Insects gather in greater numbers now. They are drawn to warmth, to moisture, to stillness. They move through the air slowly, almost lazily, landing where skin is exposed, along arms, at the edge of the neck. You brush them away without irritation. There is no anger in the motion, only repetition. They return. They always do. This is not a problem to be solved. It is a condition to be managed. Some insects bite, some merely hover. You do not always distinguish between them. Your body responds either way. A flick of the hand, a shift of position, then stillness again. Animals remain nearby as well. Goats seek shade close to walls, their bodies pressed against the coolness of mud. They breathe slowly. Their sides rise and fall with effort. Chickens move cautiously, pecking where they can. They pause often. The heat affects them too. You watch them without focus. They are part of the rhythm here, not separate from it. The river draws larger creatures closer at this hour. They approach to drink, to cool themselves. Their presence changes nothing and everything. You are aware of them without alarm. Awareness here is constant. Fear is inefficient. The soundscape shifts subtly. Insects replace footsteps. Breathing replaces conversation. The air carries scents more strongly now. Warm earth, animals, smoke from small cooking fires. None of it is overwhelming. It simply accumulates. You adjust your cloth to cover more skin, not to stop insects completely, only to reduce their access. This is another calculation. Covering the skin adds warmth. Leaving it exposed invites irritation. You choose a balance. You always do. Some sit closer to the river now. They do not enter it. They rest near enough to feel its presence. The water reflects the sun sharply. It is not inviting at midday. It is blinding. You remain slightly away from it. The insects are thicker there. The ground softer. Animals shift position frequently. They know the heat is not static. They follow comfort as best they can. You notice how the day wears on the body in small ways. Not exhaustion, accumulation. Your shoulders feel heavier than they did an hour ago. Your eyes tire of brightness. Your skin holds heat longer. There is no point in marking these changes aloud. They are shared, understood. A child swats at insects repeatedly. An older hand gently stills theirs. The motion is calm, instructive. Energy wasted on frustration is energy lost. The insects continue regardless. Some carry disease. Some do not. You do not know which. You accept the risk without naming it. Animals stir dust as they move. The dust settles slowly in the heat. It coats surfaces evenly. You breathe through it. Your body has learned how. The environment does not challenge you directly. It presses from all sides quietly. This is the strain that defines survival here. Not danger rushing forward, but conditions that never step back. You take another small sip of water. You hold in your mouth briefly, then swallow. The relief is brief. Expected. The insects persist. The animals shift. The heat remains. Time moves slowly, but it does move. Eventually, you notice the light begin to soften slightly. Not yet lengthening shadows, just a gentler edge. It is subtle enough that you question it at first. Then you trust your experience. The worst of the stillness will pass. Later, for now, you remain where you are, managing what cannot be removed, enduring what cannot be changed. The Nile flows on beside all of this, carrying insects away, drawing animals near, ignoring both, and you continue to exist within its reach. Patient, aware, unhurried. As the sun begins its slow shift, there's a subtle change in attention. Not relief, preparation. Midday meals here are not meant to satisfy hunger fully. They are meant to prevent weakness. Nothing more. You move toward where food has been kept shaded. The containers are simple. Clay, worn smooth by years of handling. The contents are familiar. Grain prepared earlier. Flat bread cooled and firm. Sometimes a small addition, if it is available. There is no anticipation, only routine. You sit before eating. Always. The ground is warm beneath you. Not hot enough to drive you away, just warm enough to remind you where the sun has been. You break the bread with your hands. The motion is slow, deliberate. Each piece is eaten carefully, chewed longer than necessary, not to savor, to make it last. Water follows in small amounts. Never before, always after. This order matters. Your body responds gradually, not with comfort, with steadiness. The food does not energize you. It stabilizes you. This is the purpose. Around you, others eat in the same quiet way. No one speaks much. Voices carry poorly in the heat. Children eat and rest longer. They lie in shallow shade, eyes half closed. No one sleeps deeply. The heat keeps the mind lightly awake. You notice how your body reacts differently now than it did in the morning. Movements are heavier, thoughts slower. You do not fight this. You adapt to it. After the meal, there is a pause. Not rest. Transition. People remain seated longer than before. Hands rest on knees. Eyes lower. The sun continues its gradual shift. It is still strong, but its angle is no longer fixed. You feel the smallest change in the air. Almost imagined. Almost real. This is when strength must be preserved for later tasks. The afternoon will bring movement again. Carrying. Walking. Repair. If too much is spent now, it cannot be recovered. You stand slowly. Rising too quickly brings dizziness. Everyone knows this. The day teaches restraint in all things. Some choose to remain seated a little longer. Others move to light tasks that require attention but little force. You pick one without thinking. Sorting, arranging, checking supplies. Your hands work while your body recovers. Insects remain present. Less irritating now, or perhaps you notice them less. Animals stir again as the light shifts. They sense the change before you fully do. You drink another small amount of water, enough to ease the dryness, not enough to invite waste. The river remains nearby, still bright, still distant. You think of it without moving toward it. Later, this part of the day is about maintaining balance between hunger and strength, between movement and stillness. You feel the slow accumulation of fatigue, not enough to stop you, enough to guide you. The environment continues to press gently. Heat, light, sound, nothing intensifies, nothing releases completely. Eventually, the shadows lengthen just enough to notice. A few fingers of darkness reach farther across the ground. This is not relief yet, but it is direction. You adjust where you sit, where you stand, where you work. The day moves on. The Nile continues its steady flow, unchanged by meals, unaware of effort, and you continue with it, sustained, measured, still within the long stretch of survival that defines every ordinary day. The afternoon does not announce itself loudly. It arrives through weight. The sun has shifted enough to allow movement again, but not enough to offer comfort. Its presence is still firm, still pressing. This is when labor resumes. Not hurried, not forced, simply necessary. You lift what must be carried. Baskets, jars, tools worn smooth by years of use. The first steps feel manageable. Your body remembers the rhythm. Each movement is economical. No excess, no wasted effort. Paths through the village are familiar. Feet know where to land without thought. Dust rises softly, then settles again. The weight rests differently now than it did in the morning. Shoulders feel tighter. Hands ache more quickly. You adjust how you hold things. Closer to the body. Lower when possible. Others move alongside you. Not together. Just near. No one speaks unless needed. Conversation costs energy. The work itself varies. Carrying water. Transporting grain. Repairing edges of shelter weakened by heat. Each task is broken into smaller actions. Lift. Pause. Step. Pause. The pauses matter. They prevent mistakes. They prevent injury. Sweat forms slowly, evaporates almost as quickly, leaving salt behind. You wipe your brow with the back of your hand. The gesture is automatic. Children are given lighter tasks. Watching, fetching, sorting. They learn endurance by example, not instruction. Animals move again now. Donkeys shift their weight patiently. Birds cross the open sky in brief arcs. The river glints in the distance. Always present, never closer. Fatigue arrives quietly. It does not strike. It accumulates. You feel it first in your lower back, then in your legs, then in the narrowing of attention. This is when accidents happen if care is lost. So care is tightened. You move slower. You breathe deeper. You set things down more often. No one rushes you. Time moves differently here. The afternoon stretches long, elastic, unforgiving. Shadows lengthen inch by inch, measured against walls, against baskets, against people. You notice how sounds change. Footsteps duller, voices lower. Heat hums steadily in the air. At intervals, work stops briefly. Not rest. Assessment. Hands press into knees. Eyes close for a moment. Then open again. Water is shared carefully. Small sips. Measured. You feel the food from earlier still working. Not strong, but present. Enough. There's a quiet pride in continuing. Not spoken. Not celebrated. It exists in the way tasks are completed despite the weight. You carry one last load farther than planned. Set it down gently. Straighten slowly. Your spine protests. You listen. The day teaches listening. Some tasks are postponed. Others finish now to avoid later strain. You choose wisely. Instinct sharpened by repetition. As the sun dips lower, the pressure eases slightly. Just enough to notice. Not enough to celebrate. This is the signal to finish what can be finished. Tools are gathered. Areas checked. The village looks subtly altered by the day's work. Repaired. Reordered. Prepared. Fatigue now sits openly in the body. Heavy. Accepted. You do not fight it. You carry it with you. Evening is coming. But not yet. The afternoon still holds you in its grip, and you remain within it. Working. Carrying. Enduring. The light begins to change before the air does. It softens first. Edges lose their sharpness. Colors deepen slightly. You notice it without stopping. The sun lowers just enough to tilt its pressure sideways instead of downward. Heat still lingers, but it no longer presses directly onto the crown of your head. This small shift matters. Movement feels possible again. Not fast, not easy, but steadier. The air begins to circulate. Slowly, almost cautiously, you feel it along your arms, across the back of your neck. It carries dust rather than fire now. People straighten a little as they walk. Steps lengthen by half a pace. Tasks that were postponed return quietly to attention. You lift again, but lighter this time, or perhaps it only feels lighter. The body responds to hope, even when it is faint. Shadows stretch longer across the ground. They link one shelter to another. They connect people who do not speak. Work resumes in pockets. Small repairs. Final collections. Sorting what must be stored before night. You move with care, shaped by fatigue rather than urgency. Hands still ache, but the ache is familiar. Predictable. That predictability is comforting. You bend slowly, rise carefully, every motion considered. The river reflects the lowering sun in broken fragments. Light dances, but does not warm. Animals grow restless in a different way now. Not stressed, anticipatory. Birds settle closer to the water. Insects hum lower, steadier. Children move more freely, released from strict caution. Their energy returns before yours does. They run short distances. Stop. Run again. Adults watch without comment. This is not leisure, but it is relief. You carry water again, but fewer trips, smaller loads. The vessels feel cool against your skin. The smell of earth rises slightly as surfaces release stored heat. Mud walls breathe. You inhale more deeply without meaning to. Conversation returns in fragments. A question, an answer, no elaboration. The day does not encourage storytelling yet. Instead, there is accounting. What was done? What must wait? The light continues its descent. It paints everything with patience. Faces soften. Lines blur. You notice your own reflection briefly in the water's surface. Not clearly, just enough to recognize movement. Fatigue remains, but it no longer threatens collapse. It has shifted into something manageable, something shared. The village adjusts its rhythm together. No signal, no announcement. You place tools where they can be found easily tomorrow. Memory will be tired then. This is preparation as survival. A final sweep of the area, a check of shelters, an adjustment to a leaning post. Each action is small, necessary, uncelebrated it. The air cools another degree. It feels like permission. You pause longer now between tasks. Not from weakness, from awareness. Night will come with its own demands. This moment is transitional. Neither labor nor rest. Just movement without strain. You walk slowly toward the shelter. Stop once to look back. The river remains. Unchanged. Enduring. The sun approaches the horizon, but does not rush. Neither do you. The day loosens its hold gradually, as it always has, and you remain within its slow release. Moving, breathing, waiting. Evening preparation begins before evening arrives. It starts with slowing. The body recognizes the shift before the mind names it. Movements shorten. Voices soften. The sun is still present, but it no longer commands. Its heat loosens. Its light stretches thin. You turn toward tasks that close the day rather than extend it. Water is checked first. Containers adjusted. Covered. Food is considered next. What remains? What must be saved? No one eats yet. Evening has rules. Shared work draws people closer together now. Not by choice, by necessity. You move alongside others more often. And pass tools. Baskets change owners without comment. This is coordination learned over years. No instruction needed. Fires are not lit yet, but materials are gathered, placed within reach. You feel the air cool against skin damp with the day's effort. The relief is subtle, lasting. Muscles begin to loosen, then stiffen again. The timing matters. You stretch gently when no one is watching. Children are guided closer to shelter. Their energy dims unevenly. In spurts, animals are settled. Ropes checked. Feed measured. The sounds of the village narrow. Fewer footfalls. More quiet handling. The river darkens. Reflections fade. You take note of the sky without stopping. Its color deepens gradually. Predictably. There is comfort in knowing what comes next. You arrange sleeping areas. Mats shaken. Dust brushed away. Shelter openings are adjusted to invite air, not insects. Every choice considers the night. The heat continues to leave the ground. Slowly, like breath, you feel it through your feet, then through your legs. Fatigue becomes heavier now, but it is a useful weight. It signals completion. You sit briefly, not to rest fully, just to acknowledge the body. Nearby, someone hums softly. Not a song, just sound. It fills space without demanding attention. Cooking preparations begin. Grain measured, tools positioned. The smell of earth and ash begins to mix. Light drops lower. Faces are half in shadow now. Expressions simpler. The day's labor recedes from importance. Survival shifts its focus. You move with purpose, but not haste. There's time, just enough. Fires are finally lit. Small, controlled. Flames do not leap. They wait. You watch the fire catch. Adjusting patiently. The warmth feels different from the sun. Localized. Earned. As food begins to cook, people settle into places. Close enough to share heat. Far enough to work. Conversation stays minimal. Words cost energy still. You listen more than you speak. The sky deepens further. Stars are not visible yet, but their absence is felt. The village becomes a smaller world. Edges defined by firelight. You sense the end of the afternoon fully now. It releases you. The heat that dominated the day has faded into memory. The body remembers it, but no longer resists it. Evening takes hold gently, prepared, expected, and you are ready, not rested, but sustained. Evening arrives quietly, not with ceremony, not with fanfare. The sun has almost disappeared behind distant trees and buildings. The remaining light softens the village in muted amber and gray. Shadows lengthen until they blend into one another. The air has cooled enough to allow activity, but not without awareness. Every movement is now considered. Every step measured. You gather with others for the evening meal. It is the final communal act of the day. Not hurried, not festive, Necessary. Food is simple. Grain, perhaps supplemented with small vegetables or dried fish if available. Portions are modest, enough to sustain until morning. Nothing more. You sit on the earth or a worn mat. Your posture is straight but relaxed. Hands fold over your knees as others arrange their food. The act of eating is deliberate. Each bite taken slowly, chewed thoroughly, swallowed with intention. Water follows, measured. Small sips, never rushed. Your body responds with quiet satisfaction, not pleasure. Around you, conversation is sparse. Soft murmurs rather than discussion. The noise of the day has faded. Silence now dominates, punctuated only by occasional movements or the soft sound of water poured. Children eat with the same care, eyes half closed, bodies swaying gently from fatigue. They have learned endurance through observation, not instruction. Animals settle nearby. Goats press against walls. Chickens tuck themselves near the shelter edges. Even they recognize the rhythm of the cooling evening. The river flows silently, reflecting the deepening sky. You glance at it occasionally, noting its constancy. It has carried your thoughts today, just as it carries the land beside it. Fatigue has fully arrived in your body. It is no longer a whisper. It is weight, heavy but accepted, acknowledged, not resisted. You notice the stillness in others, the way movements are economical, the way speech is weighed before being spoken. There's a quiet dignity in this shared slowing, a recognition that the day has been endured, tasks completed, or at least sustained until possible. The meal ends, not abruptly, not ceremoniously. Simply, you set aside your plate, hands rest on knees. The body relaxes gradually. The air carries the subtle scent of cooling mud, smoke from prepared fires, and water from the river. Each inhalation reinforces presence. Awareness continues without effort. Conversation fades entirely. People sit near one another, connected by proximity, not words. Children close their eyes briefly, drifting in light doze. Adults remain slightly more alert, yet even they allow their bodies to respond to the day's accumulation of labor. You feel your heartbeat slow, muscles loosen further, breathing deepens naturally. The environment imposes nothing. It simply exists, unchanged, and you adjust to it. Evening stretches long. Time feels broader, heavy, measured not by sun or clock, but by awareness, endurance, and the rhythm of shared survival. The Nile continues its constant passage, unconcerned by hunger, fatigue, or heat. Its presence is steady, a reminder that all things move onward. You settle into this shared calm. The day has been endured. The body is slowing, the mind unwinding. And in this quiet moment, you notice the simple truth. Endurance is not about force. It is about continuation, measured, unhurried, and persistent. Evening arrives quietly, not with ceremony, not with fanfare. The sun has almost disappeared behind distant trees and buildings. The remaining light softens the village in muted amber and gray. Shadows lengthen until they blend into one another. The air has cooled enough to allow activity, but not without awareness. Every movement is now considered, every step measured. You gather with others for the evening meal. It is the final communal act of the day. Not hurried, not festive, necessary. Food is simple. Grain, perhaps supplemented with small vegetables or dried fish if available. Portions are modest, enough to sustain until morning. Nothing more. You sit on the earth or a worn mat. Your posture is straight but relaxed. Hands fold over your knees as others arrange their food. The act of eating is deliberate. Each bite taken slowly, chewed thoroughly, swallowed with intention. Water follows, measured. Small sips, never rushed. Your body responds with quiet satisfaction, not pleasure. Around you, conversation is sparse. Soft murmurs rather than discussion. The noise of the day has faded. Silence now dominates, punctuated only by occasional movements or the soft sound of water poured. Children eat with the same care, eyes half closed, bodies swaying gently from fatigue. They have learned endurance through observation, not instruction. Animals settle nearby. Goats press against walls. Chickens tuck themselves near the shelter edges. Even they recognize the rhythm of the cooling evening. The river flows silently, reflecting the deepening sky. You glance at it occasionally, noting its constancy. It has carried your thoughts today, just as it carries the land beside it. Fatigue has fully arrived in your body. It is no longer a whisper. It is weight, heavy but accepted, acknowledged, not resisted. You notice the stillness in others, the way movements are economical, the way speech is weighed before being spoken. There's a quiet dignity in this shared slowing, a recognition that the day has been endured, tasks completed, or at least sustained until possible. The meal ends, not abruptly, not ceremoniously. Simply, you set aside your plate. Hands rest on knees. The body relaxes gradually. The air carries the subtle scent of cooling mud, smoke from prepared fires, and water from the river. Each inhalation reinforces presence. Awareness continues without effort. Conversation fades entirely. People sit near one another, connected by proximity, not words. Children close their eyes briefly, drifting in light doze. Adults remain slightly more alert, yet even they allow their bodies to respond to the day's accumulation of labor. You feel your heartbeat slow, muscles loosen further, breathing deepens naturally. The environment imposes nothing. It simply exists, unchanged, and you adjust to it. Evening stretches long. Time feels broader, heavy, measured not by sun or clock, but by awareness, endurance, and the rhythm of shared survival. The Nile continues its constant passage, unconcerned by hunger, fatigue, or heat. Its presence is steady, a reminder that all things move onward. You settle into this shared calm. The day has been endured. The body is slowing, the mind unwinding. And in this quiet moment, you notice the simple truth. Endurance is not about force. It is about continuation, measured, unhurried, and persistent. Night arrives without announcement. It comes gradually, measured, as if time itself slows. The last slant of sunlight slips beneath distant trees and mud-brick shelters, leaving only soft twilight. The air cools further, brushing lightly across arms and face. It is a welcome weight after the heat of the day. The ground beneath your feet no longer radiates warmth. Instead, it is firm, slightly damp and silent. You move slowly, deliberately. Every step feels longer, yet lighter. The village is hushed, yet alive. Shadows merge into one another. Details fade into soft shapes. Silence settles around every structure and path. Firelight flickers in the central areas, a calm, steady glow. Its warmth is localized. It does not demand attention, nor does it provide relief from fatigue. It is a quiet companion, a presence that marks survival day by day, breath by breath. You check your shelter one final time. Doors adjusted, mat laid flat, blankets arranged for minimal discomfort. Each motion deliberate, without haste. The river beyond continues its quiet flow. The water reflects nothing now. Only darkness broken by faint, fading light. Its constancy is a comfort, even if unnoticed. Children lie close, their movements slowing, breaths deepening. They murmur softly in dreams, though not fully asleep. Their energy surrenders to the rhythm of night. Animals huddle near the edge of the settlement, their bodies small, warm, and vigilant. You observe the day in memory. Not events, not achievements, but motion, endurance. Fatigue met with measured action. The heat, the carrying, the lifting, the walking, all persist in memory. A weight that lingers gently, accepted without complaint. Hands rest on knees, back straight but relaxed. The body prepares for the night, not by command, but by nature. You notice small sounds that would have been drowned in the heat of day. A reed brushing against a mud wall. A bird calling faintly from the distance. The soft shift of someone adjusting a mat. These sounds are amplified in quiet. They are not startling. They are markers of life continuing, slow and patient. You take a small sip of water. It flows smoothly, leaving a gentle coolness in your throat. Enough to hydrate, not enough to stir energy. Movement within the village slows further. Fires dwindle. Smoke curls higher and then disperses into the night air. The wind shifts slightly, carrying the scent of river mud, drying reeds, and evening dust. Your nose recognizes these smells, calms to them. They mark the passage of the day. You sit, observing the shadows. They stretch over tools, shelters, and pathways. Shapes you have seen all day now appear subtly different, softened by night. The fatigue in your body has grown heavy, not overwhelming, but insistent, a constant, gentle pull towards stillness. The mind drifts slowly, repeating fragments of the day. The grain lifted, the water carried, the small repairs made. Each task flows into the next. No urgency, no drama, only continuation. Breathing slows, deepens, becomes rhythmic. You notice the pulse in your temples, the tightening along your back. Muscles release gradually with awareness. Every sigh is part of survival. Every blink, a small acknowledgement of endurance. Even the river seems slower now. Water moving with patience. Unchanging. A quiet teacher of continuity. You rise briefly to check the fire. Stones warmed from the day radiate faint heat. Flames lick gently upward, small sparks rising and fading immediately. No sound, only soft crackle. The warmth is negligible. Its glow matters more than its heat. Settling back onto your mat, you arrange yourself carefully. Every limb placed to minimize strain. Hands resting lightly on the knees or tucked near the body. Feet close together. Back straight, yet relaxed. You feel the weight of the day as it lingers in muscles and joints. Shoulders, hips, calves, all carry subtle reminders. These reminders are not pain. They are guidance, a measure of endurance. The stars are faintly visible now above the river. The first pinpoints of light appear. Small, distant, yet constant. Your eyes move over the village. No one speaks. Everyone rests in their own way. All share the rhythm of survival. The night deepens. Shadows grow longer, darker. Yet the village remains safe, protected by the awareness and actions of the day. Silence dominates, punctuated only by the soft rush of river water, the occasional movement of an animal, a distant bird calling before settling. You reflect quietly, not on events but on effort, the labor of the day, the calm endurance that has carried everyone forward. Your thoughts do not race. They drift, as if the mind itself is preparing for sleep. Hands drop from knees. Fingers intertwine loosely. Breathing slows further. The environment continues its gentle pressure. Cool air. Soft ground. Nearby fire flicker. Flowing river. You feel the connection between body and environment, between self and others, between time and patience. Night is complete. Not dark entirely, not silent entirely, but balanced, measured, asleep in readiness. The body loosens further. Muscles release tension. Spine aligns with gravity. The mind rests without effort. No anticipation, no worry, only quiet reflection. The air hums faintly with life. Insects near the river whisper against reeds. Animals breathe in rhythm. The last warmth of the day lingers on mud walls. Cool shadows creep over the village. Every movement slow, every sound measured. The river flows constantly, and you feel its rhythm in your own body. A quiet pulse of endurance, persistence, and calm. Finally, the mind drifts entirely. The body follows, yet awareness remains just beneath the surface. Time stretches. Minutes and hours blend. Nothing is sudden. Nothing demands attention. The night has arrived fully. The village sleeps lightly. The river flows silently. The air cools steadily. And you are at rest, balanced, prepared for the next day. The cycle is complete, yet endless. This is survival. Measured, patient, enduring. The day has ended, but it lingers. Not in noise, not in bright lights, not in bustling streets or hurried conversations. It lingers in the quiet, in the shadows, in the subtle pulse of life that refuses dramatization. It lingers in the memory of labor done, of weight carried, of water drawn from the river. and it lingers in the awareness of survival itself. Calm, persistent, and unavoidable. You breathe slowly, noticing the air against your skin. Cool now, gentle, filled with the sense of river mud, drying reeds, and a faint trace of smoke from evening fires. These scents are ordinary, yet they hold the gravity of endurance. The Nile flows beyond the village, silent in its constancy. Water slides past stone and reed, carrying nothing urgent, demanding nothing. It does not rush. It does not judge. It simply moves, and so life moves with it. You reflect on the day's motions, not with pride or excitement, but with acknowledgement. The body carried loads. Hands lifted, paused, adjusted, and repeated. Muscles ached. Joints reminded you of their existence. And yet, every task was completed. Food was prepared and consumed simply. Water measured and shared. Fire tended carefully, its glow neither dazzling nor distracting. You notice the rhythm of these motions, the subtle pattern woven by necessity and habit, by the weight of survival rather than the weight of ambition. Evening passed into night without event. Yet the passage is itself profound. Every second observed, every breath noted, every step deliberate. Children slept lightly, some stirring briefly, then settling again. Their small movements a reminder of life continuing in gentle persistence. Animals rested nearby, alert but calm, their bodies folded into the safety provided by human care. You notice the way light fades, how fire casts long, soft shadows across mud walls, how the shapes of tools, baskets, and shelters blend into the darkness. The environment, once pressing and insistent, now simply exists. It is neither hostile nor comforting. It is enduring, and you endure with it. Reflection is quiet, not a contemplation of events or achievements, but of presence, of continued awareness, of being. Your thoughts drift slowly. You remember lifting water at dawn. You recall bending over grain at midday. You recall pausing in afternoon heat and listening to the wind move across fields. Fatigue was not denied. It was observed, acknowledged, respected. It became a companion rather than a burden. You recall the simple pleasures, subtle and unremarkable. The cool surface of water on palms, the whisper of wind through reeds, the rhythmic sound of distant river, the soft murmur of other humans nearby. These details are mundane, yet they carry weight. Weight measured not in grandeur, but in survival, in endurance, in a quiet persistence that marks life itself. Evening chores, once urgent in the mind, are now just memories of movement. Fires dwindled to gentle embers. Tools rested. Food was consumed and stored. The body, finally unburdened, settles into stillness. Hands rest, back straight but relaxed. Legs folded or stretched. Breathing slows. Heartbeat steady. You notice your own reflection in the river briefly. Not the face or its features. Not the clothes or condition. But the motion, the presence, the endurance. The stars have grown faintly visible above. They mark the passage of time, yet they offer no judgment. They do not hurry. They do not celebrate. They exist, and so do you. The night is steady. Nothing intrudes. Nothing demands attention. Yet you are alert, aware, and present. You reflect further on survival. Not survival as a story told in books or dramatized in films. Not survival as heroic feats or narrow escapes. But survival as continuity, as careful observation, as the patient repetition of small acts. Water carried, grain processed, fire tended, shelter prepared, muscles guided by awareness rather than thoughtless force. This is the endurance that truly matters. The endurance that passes through centuries unnoticed. Yet it is present in every breath, every careful motion, every deliberate act. You remember the sun, the way it pressed in the morning, the way its weight shifted in the afternoon, the relief brought by its retreat in the evening. Each stage observed and respected. The wind, constant yet subtle, accompanied you always. It moved dust and carried sounds. It reminded you of the continuity of the world beyond your immediate labor. You remember the river most clearly. It never stops. It never hurries. It is the ultimate observer. And it is indifferent. This is survival at its purest. Not dramatized. Not urgent. Not heroic. Merely present. The contrast with modern life is stark. Where once every movement required awareness, today, comfort often erases necessity. We do not carry water. We do not tend fire. We do not measure every action against endurance. Yet the human body remembers the pattern, the rhythm, the weight of awareness. In quiet reflection, you feel the continuity of time, not in hours or minutes, but in acts repeated, attention maintained, life preserved. You notice small patterns now, the flicker of embers, the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the river's soft, constant murmur, the way night folds over the village. Each of these patterns is survival in microcosm, a lesson not in story, but in observation, in calm endurance, in the steady passing of time without panic, without distraction, without dramatization. You notice yourself finally in the stillness, not through reflection alone, but through awareness, the body resting, the mind calm, the senses awake, yet unstrained. Night deepens, time stretches, the river flows, the fire glows faintly, the wind sighs through reeds. The village, a small world in itself, is held in quiet vigilance. People rest without urgency. They remain aware of necessities. They are neither fearful nor anxious. They endure. Your mind drifts further. Memories of the day's labor repeat in fragments, each one unimportant yet necessary. The rhythm of lifting, walking, bending, pausing continues internally. Each breath and heartbeat a quiet echo of endurance. The body adjusts fully to stillness. Muscles release tension gradually. Joints relax. Back straight. Limbs comfortable. Hands rest lightly. Silence dominates. Yet it is not emptiness. It is alive with subtle markers of presence. The rustle of reeds. The low hum of insects. The distant murmur of water. Stars now fully reveal themselves. A small light in a vast sky. Constant. Patient. Indifferent. You realize the passage of time is continuous. Not measured by sunlight or mechanical instruments, but by awareness, endurance, and the quiet repetition of action. You drift closer to sleep, not with haste, not with expectation, but gradually, measured, calm. The river flows. The night continues. The village rests. And the human body, after a day of measured labor, allows itself to follow suit. Sleep arrives slowly, like a gentle tide. Not sudden, not urgent, not dramatic. It comes as the natural conclusion to effort, observation, and endurance. And in sleep, the quiet continuity remains. The lessons of water, fire, labor, and wind persist, lingering gently in memory and in rhythm. Survival is neither heroic nor violent. It is deliberate. It is patient. It is enduring. Time continues. The river flows. The village breathes. And life, simple and measured, carries onward into the next day. You rest. The night embraces you. The world remains steady.